this should be the marquee matchup of the weekend, shouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hard to really pick apart anything that the Bills did last week. I mean, that was a near perfect performance offensively, pretty darn good defensively too. The Chiefs only gave up 14 points to the Steelers. I mean, it could have been less if they, I think, hadn't left off the breaks defensively a little bit in the second half just to get some backups in and everything. And outside of those first 4 drives, where they didn't score, the Chiefs otherwise were perfect on Sunday against the Steelers. So, yeah, I mean, 2 offenses that put up what 88 points combined last week. Gosh, what you're expecting another boat race this week, right?
Yeah, I mean the front office at the NFL headquarters is losing their mind about how well this matchup could go. So
Josh
they
Allen,
are
Patrick
slated for the
Mahomes,
last
yeah.
game. Yeah, head to head, and I think it's one of many, to tell you the truth. It hasn't been quite such a tight shootout to this point in this series with Mahomes at the helm here. He's going to get a little bit of help. We expect some changes at the running back position. Clearly, the surprise. I mean, pleasant surprise because I thought we thought he had it in him. Of this last game was Jerick McKinnon. Looks like he should be in line for a good share. Now the question becomes: is Daryl's foot going to be better? Did you take away from Andy Reid's comments that it truly was still the injury with the toe, or was this a very good point to be able to say, hey, Daryl doesn't feel 100%. There's this fumble thing. We're just going to let him kind of ride it out a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly. I think they're definitely putting it on the toe that he just was not 100%, and that would certainly be consistent with what we saw. I mean, in the couple of plays that he was in there, I don't think Daryl looked particularly comfortable. He was limited during the week, so probably, and with the way that the Chiefs operate this time of year in practice, I mean, Thursday would have been really the only time that he would be in a full contact type situation. So it's not even probably the best way to be able to judge yourself for game day. And it gave it a try, but I don't think there was any doubt that he wasn't 100% comfortable. The Chiefs, even though they played their cards pretty close to the vest, I mean, they went into Sunday expecting Jerick McKinnon to get the bulk of the carries. They were certainly going to give. The plan was to give Daryl mostly a day off. I mean, I think even then, I mean, the intention was just to leave him as the third down back. And as the game wore on, he really wasn't even that. So McKinnon got a lot of work, and that was certainly more work than I expected. I thought he might even share the load a little bit with Derek Gore, but honestly, that was the Jet McKinnon show on Sunday.
Yeah, did it turn into just riding the hot hand? That was my perception.
It could have been a little bit of that, but I remember too. I mean, this is certainly an Andy Reid type of MO that once you get to the postseason, you're going to ride the veterans. And so that's why it shouldn't, in retrospect, it probably shouldn't have surprised me that much that Derek Gore didn't get that many touches. I think that, Andy's going to go with the more experienced hands. And honestly, I mean, in the Kansas City backfield, Jerick McKinnon's the most experienced running back they've got. I mean, remember the guy's an 8-year veteran. He's been around for a long, long time, and this wasn't his first postseason game. Wasn't as much as we talked about him, going over 100 yards, total. Wasn't even his first 100-yard total game in the playoffs. He's done that before. So, the Chiefs have no qualms. They have complete trust in Jerick McKinnon because, as Andy would like to say, this isn't his first rodeo. And they definitely, I think you're probably right. I don't necessarily think that they planned on him being the entire show on Sunday, but with the way that he was playing, there was no reason not to keep riding him.
Well, now in their situation where they might get Clyde back. Daryl will have another week of mostly rest, is my guess. So you're in a situation where you have 4 backs that you could run, you can utilize. And I think we'll see a little bit more mixture. Do you feel like this is an opportunity because you have that much depth to let Clyde sit it out again?
Yeah, I think there's a distinct chance of that. I mean, I certainly didn't get a lot of optimism from Andy Reid on Monday about Clyde's situation. Remember when he tested it out last Wednesday and wasn't comfortable, that was at a practice without contact or pads or helmets. I mean, that was a low impact practice on Wednesday. So even this week, Wednesday's practice isn't going to tell us very much about Clyde's availability. Now, if he doesn't work on Wednesday, yeah, that's going to tell you a lot. But wait until Thursday and Friday, really, to see what his participation is then. If he's limited Wednesday, let's see what happens Thursday and Friday. But honestly, I mean, going into the week right now, I would not expect probably Clyde to be back. I think it's next week is probably a much more reasonable date at this point.
And that makes sense to me too. So we need to take a look at what is going to be going on in this game. I have a couple of questions for you. We're going to do that right after this. No matter what your New Year's resolution is this year, it's about getting fit or getting healthier, whichever you want. Make sure that you enjoy and add Built Bar to your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. They're incredible in all kinds of different flavors, and they make them even better. Use it as your resolution this year because it tastes so good. It takes you so far in what you want to do. It's not chalky or waxy or anything negative. It allows you to get the protein that you need, all the macros that you need without having to spend a whole lot of calories there and without having to worry about what the ingredients are that you're ingesting. They're covered in 100% chocolate, and they cover all kinds of things, generally around 130 to 150 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, 17 grams of protein on average. And there's all kinds of flavors for every palate out there. Whether it's post-workout or filling in for a meal, you can find something that you want. I personally love all the cookie dough ones as well as the coconut-based flavors. And there's all kinds of new ones always lighting off every week. All you have to do is go to built.com and use the promo code. You get 15% off of your order. The promo code is LOCKED15 for Locked On Network, and that's 15% off of your order at built.com. Now, one of the conundrums when you broke down the game and the snap counts, it felt like there was a question there with Willie Gay's participation. Played well, I thought, particularly right off the bat, was mixing it up, but didn't get a lot of run against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, for me, given that they were bottling up the Najee Harris run game, it felt like that was an opportunity to rest him for what should be an idea that Willie Gay is probably your best guy to try to manage the run game of one Josh Allen. He's probably also, at least early in the route, within the first 10 yards, probably the best guy to try to muscle up on Dawson Knox, who has been the crutch for Allen over the last couple of seasons. It has a knack for making plays against the Chiefs. Was this an opportunity? Do you have any concerns about Willie Gay going into this game against the Bills?
Not really. I mean, Gay was on the injury report last week with a wrist injury that he's been dealing with, which, hey, that could have been a factor, but it hasn't been something that, one, he didn't have a game tag, so there was no doubt he was able to play the game, and Andy Reid hasn't even listed it as part of their injury concern. So I don't think that's an issue. I mean, I think it was mostly scheme. I mean, remember, the Chiefs spent a lot of that game in a nickel packages, which meant that they only had 2 linebackers out there most of the time. And against the Steelers, this is a team that, for what they have, I mean, they can run the football and they like to run it physically between the tackles. Who's the better fit for that? I mean, that's the Nick Bolton package. I mean, that's what they have him there for. So I think it was just that scheme wise, they felt that Nick Bolton was a better fit against the Steelers. What's the better fit against the Bills? I anticipate that's going to be Willie Gay. And if having fewer snaps, let him rest that wrist up a little bit. He was certainly productive, I thought, in the snaps that he played. I didn't think there was any issues there. But you're right. I mean, with Josh Allen and his ability to scramble, I think Willie Gay is better fit for this week's defensive scheme, and that's probably why you're going to see a lot more of him.
Okay, I'm trying to put myself at ease there because I think it is important when we start to look at what they need to do. That is the Buffalo Bills. They're not going to lean too heavily on the run game. They haven't been able to do that with much success. Can they get a couple of spark plays from Singletary or maybe Moss? It's possible. But really, it is first and foremost about not only what the quarterback does in the throw game, but what he does with his legs. And do you think that this is game, with all that said, that they have to put kind of a spy package in place if you're Steve Spagnuolo?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what you do have to do. We'll see what the Chiefs end up deciding, but you're absolutely right. I mean, even though the Bills have had a pretty good run of being able to put some numbers up on the ground late in the season, there's a bit of an asterisk to it. I mean, they did that against the Falcons and the Jets late in the season against 2 teams that weren't going anywhere. That's not, big surprise to me. It's a little bit more of a surprise that they do it in a playoff game against Bill Belichick's defense. I mean, that's a little bit more impressive to me. But then again, I mean, there was a bit of a backbreaker there because of the 74 yards of rushing that they had, 66 of them were Josh Allen. And a lot of those were killer yards early on scrambles. And I know he had, a design run too of a read option. I mean, by the time that Singletary started getting his yards, game was over. So, I mean, that was a little bit of just running out the clock and trying to control things a little bit. I mean, Josh Allen's the one that's going to kill you. I mean, I have no doubt that if the Chiefs lose this game, it's not going to be because Singletary goes off for 120 yards. It's going to be because Josh Allen beat you with his legs and he beat you with his arm.
I'm completely with you. And so that said, then we have to look at what does he do in the pass game. And Diggs is clearly the big name. Isaiah McKenzie got some nice receptions in the last ball game as well. For you, when you take a look at what Allen has done against the Chiefs in the past and what he's done recently, where do you put your priority in terms of how to take away those passes that he likes to make?
Yeah, I mean, to me, a lot of it is about just, containing him in the pocket because, what are the things that Josh Allen likes to do? I mean, one, yeah, he likes to run, but two, he likes to get outside the pocket and extend plays and do a little the same kind of things that Patrick Mahomes does. So to me, what do you do to make Josh Allen uncomfortable? One, you keep him in the pocket. And certainly a big part of that's going to be on Melvin Ingram and Frank Clark, setting the edge, not just run, but pass too. I mean, you got to make sure that he's not escaping and getting to the outside. I mean, that's when Josh Allen is most dangerous, whether he's throwing on the run or he's taking off. So you set the edge and make sure that he can't get away. And then it's a matter of getting up in his face and making him uncomfortable. Hey, you get sacks, great. But to me, it's about, getting up in front of him. It's about getting hands up in front. It's about making him feel that there's pressure coming at him because that's when he has traditionally made mistakes and he gets inaccurate. The real challenge with Allen is that he gets to the outside. I mean, he's got a lot of targets that can get some time, and he's got some guys that he depends on. I mean, especially in the red zone. I mean, Knox is right up there as, one of his favorite guys, and that can be a challenging matchup depending on who's going to be on him. But to me, if you want to make Allen get him off target, I mean, the way to do that is you keep him in the pocket and you get in his face.
I think they know how to do that. I think this Chiefs front has been preparing for this. They have to make sure that they contain things. And it's funny when you take a look at these two teams, like the concept of how you go about defending them, it's like a mirror image. This is the same thing that every defense goes through every week when they face Patrick Mahomes. So I feel like that plays into their ability to prepare for this particular kind of game. And is that wishful thinking, or do you think that they have an edge here in getting ready for a quarterback just like their own?
No, I think you're right. I mean, I feel like the same thing. I mean, as I just keep, breaking down the Bills this week and looking at it, and I'm like, gosh, I mean, we know that Josh Allen has a little Mahomes in him. I mean, I don't. It's not an insult to call him Mahomes light or anything, but I mean,
Right.
it's a different flavor, the same kind of quarterback, and that's a compliment to Allen. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's really good at what he does. But you're right. I mean, I think the best way that you play both these guys is a lot the same way. And, the Bills defense and the Chiefs defense are a little bit different. They're equipped a little bit differently. I mean, I think they both have some different strengths and weaknesses. But I think they're both the same in the sense that, they like to try and get pressure on quarterbacks, but they're not necessarily have been great this year at getting home and getting a lot of sacks and piling up the numbers. I mean, it's a little bit of a team approach. I mean, they're definitely, they're fine getting pressure on the quarterback. They just want to get there and make a guy uncomfortable. It's like Steve Spagnuolo. I mean, hey, the sacks are great, but what they want to make sure that they're getting pressure consistently on the quarterback. If they get sacks, fantastic. But they want to just always make that quarterback uncomfortable, and the Bills have the kind of same approach too.